Hi everyone. My name is Chongxian Chen. Thank you for having me to attend this event to do this presentation. I'm from South China Agriculture University, Forestry and Landscape Architecture College. My design and research work focused on the landscape design associated with human health. And today I would like to share a topic on landscape and urban design for the healthy urban environment. Um, this includes three parts. And first is urbanization, a challenge for public health. The second is research in landscape and human health. And finally, I would like to share some of my recent works based on the evidence-based design method. So urbanization is a challenge for public health, actually. As we all know, today, almost 8 billion people living in the world. Um, the number of people living in urban area is more than those who live in the rural areas since 2010. This number is still increased today. According to UN, 68% of the world population projected to live in the urban area by 2050. It means we need to have much larger area of urban land, and we also need much more food, and we also need like houses, and we also need to build a much more complex transportation system in the city. Actually, this also happened in China during the past decades, and we can see almost every city in China about the urban construction work in China during the past years. So this is a share of urban population from the 1980s to 2021 in China. We can see the number of the people living in the urban area is increased during the past years. And today we have about like 65% of people living in the urban area. This number is also still increased in China today. So we can see the city of Shenzhen in China. It was a small fishing village in 30 years ago, about uh, because of the reform and the opening up policy in China. The Shenzhen rapidly grew to be one of the largest cities in China today. This is apartment buildings in Guangzhou, China. You can see like the city have a lot of this kind of high-rise apartment buildings because of the population growth in the past years. The Guangzhou is also a high-density cities in China today, with a very large number of the population living here. The environment, the urbanization, of course, can cause some like environment changes. This can have some like impact on our human. So like air pollution, because we need to develop an industry, and also because of the car number increase in the city, so the noise is also a challenge. Um, Also, we have like a lot of like waste materials. This can cause soil pollutions and also water pollutions. All of these have negative impacts on our health. Um, Urbanization also change our lifestyles actually. Especially like population growth and fast food is very popular in in the city like in China, and this also like cause obesity phenomenon in the young generation. This is a big challenges in our society today. Um, According one of the lessons, one of the research by uh, Lancet, percentage of the population estimated to be obese in 9 years, and we can see the China is ranked number like five uh, among these like six countries: U.S., U.K., China, Brazil, and India and Russia. And this number is still increased in China today. And also like because of urbanization, we now experience a very fast pace of life, modern life in the city. So we have more work to do. This also make our feel like frustrated sometimes, and you can see so many people go to work in the working hours, and it's also make our transportation system overload actually. um, Many studies also realize some connections and relationships between the urbanization process and the human health. Basically, this uh, can be divided in the two different kind of impacts. The first is about impacts on the disease, disease, chronic disease like diabetes, and also like hypertension, like a blood glucose level. This is all about like chronic disease. Because of urbanization, this kind of disease is increased uh, during the past years. And another is impacts on our mental health, such as psychological status and like depression, anxiety, and like stress. This is also very serious health problem in today's society, because this mental health issue can cause suicide phenomena. According to WHO, around like 800,000 people die due to suicide every year over the world, and which cost approximately like 1 trillion US dollars lost because of depression and anxiety each year. You can see like these cities in the world rank top about the suicide phenomena, like Paris, Los Angeles, Seoul, and Hong Kong. So urbanization have very negative impacts on our health. Now the second is about the research in the landscape and the human health. Um, Recently, many studies have found that the natural landscape is benefit our health and well-being. For example, a study also realized that the landscape natural environment can reduce our stress and can help human to have a better sleep, improve our to reduce the depression and anxiety, and also improve our pain control and lower our like blood pressure, improve immune functions, and so on. Um, Basically, this benefit through three different types of mechanism. The first, the natural landscape can make people feel relaxed and happiness. This can help us to reduce stress, um, um, and this is a benefit for our mental health. And also like green spaces and the landscape can promote our to do physical activities like running and playing and walking, and this is very helpful to improve our physical health. And finally, like natural landscape and green spaces can promote people to interact with other people, like improve the social interactions. This is also good for our health actually. So this study also like found children with attention deficit concentrate better after walking in the park. um, Compare with the neighborhood and the downtown conditions, you can see the score in the park area is much higher than those in the neighborhood and downtown area. um, Other study also found that the older man living in a much more like a greenish area with a lower rate of the mortality. This means like a natural environment is associated with our life expectancy, and green space and blue space is also found to be associated with slower 10 years decline in the walking speed and the grip strength. So there are two ways we can apply to keep our health. The first is by biomedicine. This is a traditional way. And the second is we can pay money to build a better living environment sites such like a healing garden and a better natural landscape environment. This can benefit our health in the long term. Today, in our society, more and more people realize the later one is the better choice. If we see this in the long term. Uh, so this is another study like conducted by the research from the United States, access to nature for older adults, promoting health through landscape design. The research investigate about like 68 health facilities across the United States, and over 105,000 residents invited in this study. Um, the study assessed how landscape features influenced on the outdoor usage among the older people in the United States, and the study conducted across the different parts of the United States. They also find some very interesting results, like this kind of design concept is very important, like natural elements, choice, autonomy, safety, security, comfort, accessibility, activity places. These five design concepts is very important to encourage old people to go down and to use the outdoor space. The study team develop an evaluation tool to explore the relationship between the landscape features and the outdoor space usage, and this is very important in this study. So they also find some very important landscape features that can increase outdoor usage, such as like seating has a good views and the paving smooth and level, and has privacy from the residents like rooms. These landscape features can like help to improve the old people to go down to use the outdoor landscape environment. Um, these three landscape features are most important, which can like increase increase people to use the outdoor space. Um, for example, like outdoors, like visually linked to indoors. This means like the connection, a connection between the indoor space and outdoor space in terms of visually. So people can see the outside, and so they will like to go out and to experience the beautiful landscape. If you can see outside the garden, say so you may like to go out. um, the second is has views of the birds or wildlife, and as we all know, people always like to contact with natural world. So if you can see the birds and the wildlife, you will like to go out and to see what happened outside, especially for like natural world. So this finally they should like provide the round trip walkways in this kind of the health facilities. Because the round trip walkways is very important for people, especially with like Alzheimer's disease, because they don't have a very good memory. So the round trip is help them can go out and like come back again. So other features that can also like increase usage, such as automatic Door opener was provided, paving was no glare, walkways were wide and level, residents could greet people arriving from beyond the facility. And this list of like landscape features also very important. So they are most of like detailed design is very important. This can provide some implications in the future landscape design actually. Like this is a small changes can bring like big impacts. This example shows how the key design concepts can be applied in a typical long-term care outdoor environment, just like adding a new walkway and opening up existing fence allow residents to see and reach more landscapes. So finally, I would like to introduce some of our recent works in this area. We mainly use the evidence-based design method. So as we all know, like the aging population is still increased in the world. This is the challenge in our society. According to the WHO, 80% of the elderly will die from the chronic, no communicable disease in 2030. So in our study, we choose a area in the city of Guangzhou. uh, this area will be like 41% aging population. So we want to study this kind of group of people living in this area. So we want to know how to design landscape or how to improve their like health status, especially like mental health through landscape design. Uh, so before design, we use like wearable devices to explore the connections between the living environment and elders like emotion response. So we use this kind of like euphoria bank and emotive epoch to collect emotion indicators such as like EDA, HRV, EEG, and we also use like a camera to catch the image when people experience in this kind of environment, so we can understand what landscape features and environment elements influenced on the people's like emotion response. This is participants when we do the experiment in our study. Uh, so we invited like people aged between 60 to 85 years old, and this is like participants wear the wearable devices. This is the camera. This is devices to collect the people EEG, and this shows like people work in the living environment. So before the walking, the participant need to take a rest. We need to make sure they calm down enough and then working in the community. So actually, we also do a mapping work because we need to know um, their working route, and we also need to figure out which part, like which location stimulate their special, like their different types of emotion response. This diagram shows specific location, like a specific landscape element that stimulate um, uh, specific type of emotion response. Uh, you can see very clear. So this is very helpful in the future design strategies, and we can understand which part landscape we need to improve and which landscape we just need to keep. So this is a master plan for our research study area. This area includes three different parts of the residential, three different three different residential with different quality of the outdoor space. This means like high quality, medium quality, and poor quality outdoor space. And based on the research, Finally, we develop a landscape strategy toolkit. This can help our to apply in the future design to improve the mental health in mental health among older people, like mitigate the effect of heat weight and reduce walking distance, like provide quiet notes. For example, you can see this is toolkit. So this is in landscape strategies we apply in the high quality outdoor space environment. So we mainly focused on we mainly focus on this kind of strategies, and we propose providing community gardening because this group of people like to do more physical exercise. They have uh, so they can have a better life, and this is most useful for them in this kind of group people living in the higher quality outdoor space environment. So dynamic square is very important for them. And the second, in the media quality outdoor environment, we propose like footpath free from tripping hazards and install barrier-free facilities, and also choose plants with therapeutic values. Because in this area, people prefer to have barrier-free corridors. And in this in the media quality of the outdoor environment, residential. So finally, in the poor quality environmental outdoor space, uh, so we mainly focused on the emphasize like lighting environment and provide quiet notes, and choose plants with therapeutic values designed like low maintenance screening, because most of the people living in this area um, with like less money, and the space is very crowded and narrow. They don't have very much like spacious area for them to do the physical activities. So we need to design like some uh, provide some like space, and provide some landscape features to improve their experience, improve their like feelings. And this also include like mitigate the effect of heat wave, especially in the climate in the Guangzhou city. Uh, so also we also do some research in the urban area. In this study, we using like a machine learning method to measuring the effects of urban city on mental health uh, in the more large area, because of machine learning method um, is much like fast and effective than the traditional like questionnaire method, than traditional like interview and questionnaire methods, because traditional questionnaire and interview method is very labor intensive and time consuming. We can only do research in a small area. So machine learning method we can do in a large area, in the urban. So this is street view images we collect from the tension the street view from uh, 2018 to 2020. Um, we collect four different directions of the image from the city. So we also measure like six different types of the mental health indicators, like relaxed, focused, motivated, happy, depressed, and social. This shows the process of our study. So first, we need to do the training work. Like we need to collect how people respond to how people mental health indicators respond to the different types of street environment. So we need to train first, and we can use like a training model and combined with the machine learning method to predict how um, urban street environment influence on the humans people's mental health in the more larger city area. So this is like technique flow chart shows how we do this research. This is like an image we collect, and we use like image segmentation method to extract different types of like landscape elements, so we can understand what kind of elements um, influenced on their people's like mental health response. So finally, we use like a statistic method to analysis the relationship between the mental health indicators and the percentage of the streetscape elements. Also, we compare some of the model accuracy. We need to make sure the model accurate is enough to predict in the larger area. So finally, we found some very interesting results like this one, and the depressed area of the depressed the depressed is concentrated in the center part of the city. This means like this area and have like more higher urbanization rate than the bounded area. You can see the motivate area is located in the city bounded area. This shows like the greener area. So this shows like some very specific landscape elements, the relationship with the different type of mental health indicators. Like this vegetation is closely related with the positive side of the mental health. So we finally found like vegetation, terrain, and sky is very important to improve the positive uh, emotions, and the road also sometimes very important. But the building, which means like the fewer buildings, the less depressive. The buildings can cause our feel depressed actually. So based on the research findings, we propose the different planning strategies in high density urban areas and living streets and along streets along the blue space. For example, in the high density urban areas, we want to improve the street green coverage, and in the living streets, we want to like set up the slow traffic systems separated from the traffic systems to support people like to do like social activities. So different types of design detail strategies also apply in different kind of street environment. So finally, we try to apply these like strategies in a small area in the city. This we estimate this strategy can improve like 50%, around 50% positive street space, and reduce like 53% negative street spaces. This shows like this design strategy detailed design strategies apply in the different part of the street environment. Actually, we also use wearable devices and this kind of evidence-based design method in other research like this one, and we use wearable devices to collect people how to respond the gray, green, and blue spaces, so we can create healing spaces for three different parts of the environment types. This shows, as I mentioned before, we can identify the specific elements that stimulate people different kind of like emotion response. So we can have a very specific landscape design strategies to improve the environment. This is the master planning process we used. So in this case, we use this to collect people response to different environments, and finally, based on these results, and um, we organize and propose the strategies applied in this park and in different type of spaces. This is the strategy toolkit we developed. List different parts of the strategy we apply in this park, and finally, so this is our work. And actually now we also use some like visual reality technology to evaluate if the project we build and how people respond in this kind of design. So we don't need to wait until the project be really built. So based according to the advance in the computer technology, today we can realize this. So we still do this kind of work in design like heating garden for the elderly in China actually. So our some works also received some awards from the um, different institutions such as Landscape Institute Awards 2020 and 2021 from the UK, and we also award like from the International Federation of Landscape Architects. And this is some books of our team done. And this is healing garden design, and this is creating health community. We also do some like health landscape theory work. And if you want to know much more our work, you can visit this website address through this. And thank you very much. That's all my presentation. Thank you.